Hopefully, I'm sharing my terminal. I use iTerm for anyone who cares. You can use CodePuppy in any terminal, any operating system, maybe even Temple OS, but I've never tried it. You run it if you have Astral installed. You run it with UVX CodePuppy. If you don't have Astral installed, you can just like go install it. I mean UV is what I'm talking about, not Astral. So you just go to like astral.sh and uh, and you can install UV right here. So it's just like a Python package manager if you're not familiar with it. And then like it's if you're from like the Node.js side of stuff, it's kind of like NPX. So you can just do UVX CodePuppy and you're good to go. If you've never run CodePuppy before, you'll see like a tutorial startup and it'll walk you through like, hey, you can like here's like a quick start and you like pick a model provider. It integrates with Claude Code, it integrates with ChatGPT Pro and Plus. And also like I don't know, some of you may have seen that like Claude Code stopped supporting third-party harnesses. That is not the case with CodePuppy yet, so it still works. Um, anything kind of runs. If you have like a if you have like another third party provider that you wanna look in, you can use slash add model. And there's a repository of like I think around 70 different providers that you can pick from, and each of them have a large number of model offerings inside of that you can go and integrate with. And CodePuppy will run with all of these. Um, it does use DBOS as Qian pointed out. And I met Qian in Pydantic Discord. And the reason that she reached out to me is because I was struggling with a really, really tough bug at the time in CodePuppy. Uh and Pydantic AI has a really interesting way of handling history processing, so message history. So like if I tell CodePuppy like write me a fizzbuzz in Go in slash temp and compile and run it. Uh let's go ahead and watch this happen really quick. So every kind of like this thinking block right here, the agent response, and then that tool call right there. Each one of those is like a chunk of message history. And every time a piece of message history accumulates in your history, a bunch of hooks are invoked in behind the scenes. And this is how you can kind of like reach into the inner workings of the agentic flow and build things like compactions. And you can imagine something like DBOS that execute if you can make your message history durable, that can be advantageous. Um, so working with Qian, we integrated DBOS into it, and Qian helped me fix a bug that I had been struggling with for weeks. Um, and the rest is kind of history. But you just got like a quick demo of CodePuppy. As you can see, it's kind of like raw and unopinionated. Like I don't there's no TUI. I know a lot of like the agentic harnesses use something fancy like ink or something fancy like whatever crush is built in. I can't remember the name of it. Oh yeah, bubble tea. So there's no TUI. This is just a straight CLI. There's no there, when you invoke a menu there, like if I type slash model, this brings up a miniature TUI, but as soon as you're out of it, it doesn't like go away. It just prints as if it's part of like a CLI output. And so that makes it kind of really compatible with any terminal. So like it'll run perfectly in Windows. It'll run perfectly in like a 20-year-old Linux if you can get it to run in a 20-year-old Linux. Uh, yeah, that kind of stuff. So it's very accessible. Um, let's talk about DBoS for a minute because I well, really quick, does anyone have any like questions? Like, okay, like I can answer a rhetorical question maybe, but let me ask the audience. Do you guys have any questions? I'm guessing that's a no.
Looks like,
Yeah, what's up?
yeah, looks like nothing yet, but I'm curious as to like what made you start the idea and sort of how did this come about? Like
That's exactly the rhetorical question that I was going to ask. So, or like the like corollary, right?
yeah.
So I all the way back in April of 2024, a year ago now, I got into Cursor and Windsurf, and I was just like a huge fan of vibe coding. And what happened was like I had like completely committed to this shift in engineering. Um, and 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 then what happened was like there was this moment where Windsurf, which was my primary tool at the time, was like almost acquired by like OpenAI. I guess
Mm.
like do you guys remember that at all? It was like almost acquired and then they backed out at the last second. But during that fake acquisition that never actually happened, um, Anthropic pulled Claude Sonnet 3.7 off of Windsurf and said, "Well, you guys don't get to use our models anymore because you're owned by our competitor." And and like at the same time, Cursor really, really, really drastically lowered their usage limits, and they launched. I was using a $20 a month plan on Cursor, and they like basically took the $20 a month plan and made it a $200 a month plan. So it like 10x'd in price. Literally, this happened. Um, and I was like looking at all this happen, and I like felt kind of helpless, right? But then
Mm.
I also was like looking deeper at what agents are, and I had been building agents inside of Walmart to like do like basic knowledge work automation type stuff, right? And I'd been doing that in Pydantic AI. I didn't even know what durable execution was at the time, so I'd never even heard of temporal yet, or DBOS or anything like that. But I'd been building these agents inside of Walmart, and I said, well, this is not that hard. Like I can make an agent and give it an edit file tool, and I can give it a read file tool, and I can give it a grep tool. And so I started like making that Pydantic AI script to create myself a coding agent. And it didn't take very long. It took me maybe like 3 or 4 hours to get a working example. And then from there, I actually had CodePuppy. It wasn't even named CodePuppy at the time. I just called it Agent. Um, I had the agent work on itself. And I was paying like API credits, which was more like a little bit more expensive at the time than Cursor or Windsurf. But what I really really liked about it was I was in control, and I was willing to pay a little bit more money to be in control, and I was willing to pay a little bit more money to have my own source code base that nobody can mess with. So like even like the open source, even like a lot of the open source harnesses, um, if they were ever to be acquired. Do you guys remember all the drama between like Crush and OpenCode? Like that kind of stuff I just want to avoid. Um, and I think that there are like now fast forward like a year later after code I wrote CodePuppy like a year ago, and it's got like a cult following a little bit. Like it kind of went viral inside of Walmart, but like it's not really that well known at all outside of that circle. And I think, which is fine. I think looking back on the past year, you know, I'd say there's totally really really good examples of open source like harnesses that I trust. One of the I think probably the best one is like PyCoding Agent right now. I think that's probably like the best one that you could get. But I think CodePuppy is competitive with it, and I'm really like I'm kind of proud of what I built here, and like just proud to be like separated from the like what I would say the like investor funded slop cycle. And that's kind of like the gist of this slide right here. Hopefully that helps.
We're getting a lot of comments, mostly centered around the beauty of the TUI slide.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So this is I actually vibe coded this with CodePuppy, and it's from like an old presentation that I gave about like whether like vibe coding is right for data science or not. But
Ah,
like this is like what we're in right now, right? Like you have like TSMC and Nvidia are just like super happy, and you have like LLM providers taking VC funding to buy GPUs from Nvidia. And then you have like agent startups getting VC funding, like Cursor and Windsurf are VC funded, right? Like so they're like subsidizing new users to pay like Anthropic. So you have this like double layer of like investor funding, and that's otherwise known as a bubble. But eventually like the users have to pay the price. So like I'm sure most of you have looked at like Claude Code 20x Max. You pay $200 a month, and you're getting something like $7,000 a month worth of API credits if you use all of it. And like that's how heavily funded this is. And remember that like Anthropic is also using investor funding to buy from Nvidia. So like I don't know. There's like I just see this like nightmare scenario where like we have to like we as users who are not kind of like part of this agentic AI bubble, we need to like do everything we can to protect ourselves from when that bubble goes pop, and like you know there's no access to like tokens or software or whatever. So that was what motivated me to write CodePuppy, I guess. But yeah, the TUI slide deck, I can post the link for it. It's actually source controlled. Here, let me see. Yeah, so it's on github.com, Pfaffenberger, and then slide decks. Oh, I forgot this part. Walmart does require me to say that like all of my opinions are my own.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
Okay,
Awesome.
so we're here to talk about CodePuppy, but also DBOS. And I put together what I thought was like a cool idea. I don't know if it's actually that cool of an idea, but we're going to find out together. So let me exit here. I'm going to swap to DBOS demo, DBOS demo, and run CodePuppy inside of this directory. And then inside here, I have a doc. I'm going to switch. So CodePuppy has like a bunch of agents inside of it. You can type /a or /agent to swap between agents. And then if agents have the invoke agent tool, they can invoke each other. And I'm going to go to one called the planning agent. Let me find it. Where's my planning agent? There he is, right at the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to tell it here I have a spec in my docs directory for a durable execution backend for an MMORPG server. Read the spec and put together a plan. Okay, so basically the idea that I had was if anybody, I don't know, I might be showing my age a little bit too much here, but if you guys remember back in the day, if you ever played something like World of Warcraft or another MMO like that, and you had an experience where like you got a really really cool item in game or you achieved something really cool and then like the server dies and then you lost that progress, that's like a really, really disappointing outcome. And it happened
Yeah.
because your game server would be on a basically like on a scheduled compaction cycle. So you would be like writing all of your progress. Like every player connected to the server would be writing all of their progress to a write ahead log in memory. And then every 5 minutes that write ahead log like flushes and there's a compaction, right? Um,
Hmm.
so right now, but we have enough hardware and computing power right now so that we could actually kind of do micro compactions and DBOS is a way to like ensure that they complete. So I'm not going to even read this plan because it's too big. But basically, like let's look at the gist of it. Okay, Python CLI application with DBOS durable workflow orchestration. Tech stack Python 3.11 plus, DBOS. We have a Typer CLI framework, and we can use SQLite. That's fine. DBOS works with both SQLite and Postgres. I recommend using Postgres, unless you're doing something like a demo like this. Um, and basically, what we're going to do is we're actually going to have like a bunch of players simulating a multiplayer environment, a bunch of like simulated players. So there's going to be like a 4-player party taking down like a boss, and there's going to be a simulated outage. And we're going to show how like DBoS's durable execution like prevents any loss of data or like loss of progress. And so I'm really just going to tell CodePuppy like execute this plan. And then immediately I'm also going to say use as many parallel copies of CodePuppy as possible. And I'm immediately going to hit Control C on that really quick. So, and that's just going to cancel it because what I wanted to show you guys is I've like made a bunch of clones of CodePuppy. So in my agent menu, I can create a clone of CodePuppy and I can then pin a different LLM to it. So, for example, if I want this clone of CodePuppy to use like my z.ai GLM 5.1 coding plan, I can do that. I've already got one pinned there, so maybe I'll pick a different one for this guy. Let's see, which one am I not using? Okay, I can use Kimi K2.5 from Synthetic. So the idea is that like, you might want to like if you're going to do like parallel agents, you might have multiple plans and each one has like a particular rate limit or like for example, if I tried to run like 10 parallel agents on Synthetic, they would just like throttle me and rate limit me, and then I would hit errors. So like you can kind of like clone the agent and pin each copy to a particular model provider, regardless of what global model you have set. So if I want my global model to be like, I'll just probably set like Claude Code really quick. Let's see, I have so many models right now. So I'll just set Opus
Mhm.
4.6 really quick as my top level model. And I'll go ahead and fire off execute plan here. Hopefully I haven't hit my limit in Cloud Code. Looks like I'm okay. All right. And like this is really cool because CodePuppy is integrated with DBOS, we can actually like watch this live inside of the little thing here. Oh my gosh. Uh no. This is not what I'm looking for.
Workflows.
Workflows, thank you. That's it. Here it is. Show workflow steps. So like this was like our planning phase, and now let's see what it's doing. Nice.
So right now, it's only using one model. Is that correct?
It is only using one model right now. Actually, I did instruct it to use parallel subagents, but I had unfortunately forgotten that I swapped off the planning agent. You know, I'm just gonna kill it and go back to the planning agent. And then I can resume my conversation, no problem.
You can use the conductor MCP to learn what it's doing. I'm sure you can add it to CodePuppy.
Potentially, yes. All right. Anybody noticed Anthropic models being kind of slow lately? I don't know
I've
if you
been
guys
using Opus, and it's really bad. Like the quality of output
are.
is horrible.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know what's
feels
going on.
this feels really slow right now.
Hmm.
I'm really impatient, so I'm gonna swap off of Opus. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with synthetic GLM5.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Like my wife uses a lot of Claude code for her project, and she was like yesterday. She was like, "It's smarter at night and it's stupider during the day."
I've had the same feeling.
Really?
But yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like maybe when perhaps when their endpoints are overloaded, they like dump the overflow into a more highly quantized version of the model or something like that.
that's amazing.
I don't know if
That's
it's really
amazing.
true. Okay, so this is going to call the invoke. We're calling the invoke tool right here. I don't know if you guys can see that at the bottom of my screen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Once that happens, we're going to see a really cool thing inside of this visualizer. So
So
sub begin. Go ahead.
how does this like parallelized development affect your costs? And I guess you have to like keep tabs on different APIs, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, it's expensive. I'm not, it looks like it's only running one agent in parallel right now. That's totally fine. But I think that
mm.
like so if we did multiple agents in parallel, we would actually see this like, you know, we'd actually see them in parallel across the board here. And I think this UI is so cool. And this is just part of what you get if you build an agent inside of DBOS.
That's awesome. Yeah. Um, and more UIs, more UI developments on the way. It's definitely a big priority for us to add more visualization features. Let's see.
Jay says, I've sometimes been routed to older models in Anthropic. I think it's happening. I'll ask what the latest version of Rust it knows about, which is a 6-week granularity proxy for training data cutoff. Anthropic has Anthropic support has acknowledged this behavior. I haven't tested in Cloud Code, just API based. That's fascinating.
Wow,
That's a
wow.
really good test. Yeah.
You just gotta code at night. We just gotta get in there in the middle of the night and launch all the puppies.
Well, I think even like that's happening across the board on all providers. So I think if you look at like a site like OpenRouter,
Hmm.
they will have like usage, right? Where's the little they have some page somewhere about like total usage, I think. Rankings maybe. Okay, yeah, so this is like the total usage. Look at January. Look at like February versus January And right now it's this gigantic spike of adoption, right?
Yeah.
So Open Router was at, less than around 5 trillion tokens a day for a really, really, really long time. And then now we're at almost 30 trillion tokens a day. It's completely insane.
Before we forget, Niraj had a question, more of a request. He wanted to see the agent.md and the skill.md files. And as a follow-up, I had a question of, are you using the DBOS skills here?
Yes, I did. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. The DBOS skills are, it'll be in here somewhere. Hang on. Let's scroll up through the output. A lot of code being written. So the first thing it did was activate skill of DBOS Python. Yeah, and for anybody who's like curious about that, so yeah, CodePuppy totally supports skills. You can just stick it in your home directory in .code_puppy/skills. You can have a directory of skills. So I can like run another CodePuppy over here really quick, and then if you type /skill, you can see all the skills that you have installed, and you can like toggle them on and off. So I don't need Moltbook right now. I'm going to turn that off.
Perfect.
But there's DBOS right here, and so like for the agents.md, I actually don't have one active right now, but CodePuppy will look for it, and the way it'll work is it'll append it to a system prompt.
And to the point about games and saving games and showing age, Mike, I still remember continues. Like, who on the call still remembers continues? Not like save games, but games where you got like 3 continues. And that was your durable execution back in the day.
That is true. Yeah, and you're showing your age a bit.
Yeah, a bit. But it's really is the best analogy for durable execution. Is sort of, from the gaming world, like save my state so I can get back to it and not lose important progress.
Yeah, but I think this is super cool. So like all of these little helper functions that it's writing, like okay, we're gonna have like a function where like the players can roll for loot, which basically means like roll the dice. And then like based on the outcome of that roll, we're gonna assign rewards. Each one of these is a DBOS step, which means it would be like one of these little guys here in the workflow. It would appear here. So you'd not only be able to have durable execution and like feel confident that your system is going to run correctly, but you also have this like audit trail, which I think is really neat. So even my agent has a little audit trail.
You mentioned something copy earlier on. Was that something that you wanted to show to us?
I mentioned, say again, what did I mention?
I think you mentioned copy. I don't remember. Maybe it's to do with running multiple agents in parallel.
Oh yeah, like cloning an agent. Yeah. So in the agent menu, if you type /agent, what I was saying is like if you're running parallel agents, which I didn't end up doing in this demo, but if you are, you can create clones of each agent if you want. And then the idea is that you can pin a model. If you have different models configured from different offerings, like here I have Synthetics GLM5 model, I have Fireworks Kimi K2.5 Turbo, and then from Xi I have GLM 5.1. And then like I also have Synthetics Kimi K2.5, which is the same model as the FirePass one, but different providers, so they have different rate limits. So like if you're basically like the idea of cloning is like, well, there's 2 reasons why you would do it. You'd create like a bunch of agents that have different models pinned to each other for dodging rate limits. But then there's also like the idea of Andrej Karpathy's concept of the Council of LLMs, where like if you want to get the best results out of an agentic workflow or an LLM invocation, it's better to actually have as many models as possible invoke on the same task, and take a kind of mixture of the outcomes.
Yeah, that makes sense. By using DBOS, I don't, maybe you said that you could like dodge the rate limit, right? Where if you have a very big task, and if, for example, is going to have like 10,000 steps, and then you
Yeah,
get rated by one model at the 1,000 step, you could let another model begin literally where you stopped.
you
Uh,
totally could do that. Unfortunately, I'm not that good at using DBOS in CodePuppy yet, but I definitely want
Hmm.
to. So like that is 100% feasible what you just proposed. Um,
Hmm.
what I will show you right now is I'll like switch to like another like toy example really quick in a different directory. I'll just do it here. And I'll switch models too because I want to use one that's not being slammed. I'll go to FirePass Kimmy.
Hmm.
Um, all right, and I'll just give it like a toy example really quick because I'm gonna go find that. I'm gonna go find it in my workflow explorer. Wait, what? Okay, here's the new prompt that I'm running. Show workflow steps and what I'm actually gonna do is like so this thing is running. I'm gonna cancel it and
Oh, it finished. It finished before you could, did it?
no, I don't think it finished yet. Hang on. Oh, it did say workflow complete, but
Oh,
I'm
no, no, status canceled. Status canceled up top. Yeah.
yeah. So interestingly enough, the tool call is still running. Let's wait for that to finish really quick.
Yeah, that might be in a step. And
I'm
so,
actually going to control C that over here too. But like
yeah.
what you can do is hit resume and it actually just resumes in your terminal. So
Yeah.
like you're like controlling a CLI application from the site. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, at the boundary of a step though. It like
Yes.
the reason it didn't cancel right
Yeah.
away is because it was waiting for a step to finish. And and of course
Well,
you
I
get to
think
control.
I think I need to like I think there needs I probably just have an error in my code. I probably need to like have an async listener
Hmm.
looking for DBoS cancels.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Because there's a trade-off between like canceling right away and putting too much
True.
stuff on your database. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's there's definitely nuance there. Things to consider for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
So
did think that was really cool. Like you can kind of cancel and resume and the CLI will just obey the behavior.
yes, yes. Yeah, and it's not lost that you are using a durable application to build other durable applications here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean I think yeah, in the case of like the little raid simulator, yes.
Hmm.
Now the last time I executed this spec, it finished in like a minute or two, but it's taking a little longer this time. I was
Hmm.
hoping to give a demo of it, but I think you guys get the idea.
Hmm.
yeah, also another question, sorry. By
Yeah.
having all these steps in there, did it help with the memory side of LLMs?
I haven't looked at DBoS as a solution for memory yet. And I think that's something really interesting that you're bringing up, actually. A lot of the like richer kind of memory, like a lot of the richer memory systems are like a mixture of a knowledge graph and a vector database. Like that's kind of like if you look at all of like the kind of state of the art memory systems, that's what's there. CodePuppy, I took a really like minimalist approach all across the board on everything. Less is more. Um, so I have a tiny system prompt, a tiny tool schema, and tiny tool documentation. All the thing altogether is like only like it's like under 1,000 tokens, I think, altogether. And that makes it incredibly lightweight. When it came to like memory, I only implemented the most simple compaction system. Uh, because I wanted it to be kind of extensible with lifecycle hooks. So if you want to write a plugin to bring richer memory systems into CodePuppy, like as a user, you can totally do that. Because there's lifecycle hooks that you can hook into and augment CodePuppy's functionality. Um, but like, yeah, I hadn't thought about using DBoS for that yet, but like there could be really great opportunities for, Qian and her crew to like bring longer term memory into into the agentic space with DBOS, and CodePuppy could benefit from that too.
Yeah, we have a couple of users in the memory space, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and there are like these capabilities of taking a pre-existing run and then using fork to start a new run and potentially on a new version of the code or a different set of configs, right? So that's sort of like one way to avoid repeating work that's already done. Qian, looks like you got a question from the sign up form.
Right. So someone asked, I'd appreciate it if observability and evaluation for agents could be covered in more detail. So Mike, how do you, for example, evaluate your agent?
Okay, that's a really good question. So, I actually I have a friend who does my evaluations for me, kind of. So she wrote a scoring system that like it's sort of like she modeled it after SWE Rebench. Um, but like basically it's really really expensive to run. I think it's like probably like $6,000 worth of API tokens every time you run it. So we don't run it very often, but there are something like 300 or 400 different tests. Many of them ranges between like, hey, like summarize this email and write a good response, and then you have like an LLM judge saying whether that's good or bad, and that's like a super simple one. And then like more complicated ones will be like, here is a broken base 64 implementation in C++. We want you to go and fix it. And that's like a little bit more complicated. I think most of the models like crush that one these days. And then like really hard ones are like regular expressions. And so far only like GPT 5.4 with like X high thinking and like Claude Opus 4.6 with max thinking are able to solve the regular expression ones. Um, and there's like 400 total tests, and we usually we try to run them every time we possibly can, but you know it's expensive. But like yeah, we test as many LLMs as possible too. So like even like knowing okay, here's like a we have categories of tests that rank on different levels of complexity, but also just like whether it's general knowledge work or software engineering. And like you'd be surprised, like Claude Haiku is actually like incredibly good at software engineering, and it's like 1/10 the price of Claude Opus or something like that. It's crazy. And it's actually like it performs like phenomenally well on most of the software engineering stuff. And then like it's funny because it fails pretty miserably on some of the like really basic comprehension stuff. So it's like it like only understands like React. It's really killer at React. Yeah. But like that's kind of how we think about it, and or how I don't really like focusing on evals too much, so like I got my friend to do it.
Makes sense.
A question, an interesting question from Jagadish. I'm trying to implement DBOS in the VLLM where the LLM process the tokens and output in chunks. How does DBOS combines the output from multiple chunks and gives the combined response? Qian, maybe.
It might relate to what Mike mentioned earlier about how the compression work. So essentially, you might be able to compress the history before sending to LLM and before sending back to the user.
I wonder if this.
I don't know. Like, what would you do with DBOS inside of the LLM?
Yeah, I think that's something we'll.
Curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can follow up offline or something. Talk about it later.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, Absal asked a very interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really supposed to talk about this too much, Astel, but I'll just say like it gives us the ability to like not be locked into a vendor, like and have freedom to control and integrate with our own internal systems, right? Like it's like exactly what you could imagine. Like, people can use Claude Code inside of Walmart, so that's totally available. And we actually also have Cursor. CodePuppy is preferred in some scenarios, and Cursor and Claude are preferred in other scenarios. It depends on the user, really.
Michael, to your comment, I'm with you. I'm also still a caveman. I've yet to try out Code Puppy or Claude, but soon, maybe later this week. I promise. Okay. All right. Well, it is 2:42, at least in Boston. And we also had an agenda for a few updates and Q&A about new DBOS features and roadmaps. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. This is awesome.
It was super fun to talk to you guys.